Good morning. Looks like everyone is on time today. Great. Why don't we get started then? Today I'm going to continue our discussion of the sociology of language, which we talked about last time as the study of a language's effects on society. One of the important questions in this field is whether or not language is inherent in all human beings when we're born, or if it's something that we learn. How many of you think language is learned? Okay, most of you do. Now, it might be easy to presume that language is learned when we think about parents teaching their children, but isn't it also conceivable that language is a natural, intrinsic part of being human? For example, many experts have found functions and parts of the brain that relate to language. So, at this point, we don't really have an agreed-upon or coherent theory that tells us exactly how language is acquired. This topic is actually still being debated, and I unfortunately don't have an answer for you. You're going to have to develop one on your own, which we'll be addressing in one of your assignments later this month. For now, I want to talk about another question, which is, do different languages affect a person's thinking in different ways? Or do all languages have the same intrinsic properties for thought and feeling? Back in the 1930s, two American linguists named Edward Sapir and Benjamin Lee Whorf tried to answer these questions. Based on their research, they claimed that the language we speak determines how we experience and see the world, how we think, and what we learn. In other words, people who speak different languages conceive of the world in different ways. Their thesis, which is referred to as Linguistic Relativism, was popular for a while. Then, during the 1970s, a new theory was born called Linguistic Universalism. This theory presumed that all human beings see the world in very similar ways, and that all languages function in similar ways. For example, if we all watch the sun setting, the Universalists believed that we all experience the same thing. It does not matter what language we speak because, according to Linguistic Universalism, the word for sunset has the same intrinsic meaning. Over the years, both theories have been amended based on new research findings. One interesting study in support of linguistic relativism discussed gender in language. For instance, modern English does not have gendered nouns, but in many languages, words are said to be feminine, masculine, or other. For example, in German, the word for bridge is feminine, but in Spanish, the word for bridge is masculine. In the study, people who spoke different languages were shown a picture of a bridge. German speakers described the bridge with words meaning fragile, beautiful, peaceful, and pretty. However, a group of Spanish speakers described the same picture of a bridge as strong, dangerous, sturdy, and big. This study concluded that even if a Spanish speaker and a German speaker crossed the same bridge in the same way, their feelings about the world around them would be different because of the inherent differences in their languages. In another research study, researchers looked at a community in northern Australia that speaks a language called Kuuk-Tayore. There, people don't have words for left and right. They use words for directions like north, south, east, and west instead. They might say, "The spoon is west of the plate," but they don't say, "The spoon is left of the plate." If you ask a 5-year-old Kuuk-Tayore speaker, which way is north, she points in the correct direction, which would be inconceivable for most 5-year-old English speakers. There was another fascinating study on meaning in language. In English, for example, if little Johnny drops a glass, we may say, "Johnny broke the glass." However, speakers of some languages, such as Japanese, describe it differently. If he did it intentionally, they'll say something that would translate like, Johnny did it. But if it was an accident, Japanese speakers are more likely to say something like, the glass broke, or the glass was dropped, without mentioning who dropped it. So, does language influence how we think? Or does how we think influence our language? A study in support of the relativist thesis showed that teaching and learning new words changes how people talk. For example, teaching people new words for colors appears to change how they talk about colors. So, are you a linguistic relativist or universalist? That's your assignment. I want you to write a paper explaining which theory you support. The paper